Good afternoon, viewers. It's Rob Atfield reporting for Port Carling Boats. We're here in Port Credit this November the 8th day, 2016, the day of the American election. But we're not focused on politics this afternoon. We're focused on a beautiful canoe built by Peter Code. And Peter has, for a number of years, been in the boat construction business. He's just finished off this gorgeous canoe. We may go down stairs in a minute and take a closer look. But I'm going to turn the camera over to Peter to discuss his business, which currently also involves tendercraft canoes. Peter, you've made excellent use of your shop space here.
Hi, I'm Peter Code. You're in my canoe loft right now. To my right here is the 17-foot chestnut prospector mold, and to my left, just underneath the fiberglass or Kevlar Langford, is the 15-foot chestnut Ranger. So I build these two models as well as do canoe repair and restoration work.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the loft, trying to make as much useful space as I can. But I can physically build the canoes up here, and then usually I lower them downstairs to do the finish work.
Right.
Glassing or canvassing, gunnel installations and things like that.
Okay. You would do custom canoe building, I presume, Peter, so a customer could request either a canvas bottom or a fiberglass bottom and so on?
They're pretty much made to order, and
okay.
Or repair to order.
Right.
Sometimes I take old canoes that are in very bad shape, and an added layer of fiberglass, epoxy, and paint on top actually saves weight, increases the strength tremendously, and you could easily get another 30 or 40 years out of a canoe that normally might not be worth going forward.
Right. And you obviously really know what you're doing. You said you were trained at the Northwest School of Boat Building?
Yes, so I trained at the Northwest School in Washington in the early 90s, and I came back to Toronto. I'm from Toronto and Muskoka, and I worked at the Marine Museum of Upper Canada, and I taught boat building.
Wow.
In Toronto for a number of years. And over the years I've done many events with the Antique Classic Boat Society, displayed at the shows, and done winter workshops, things like that.
Right. Viewers, just for your interest, this is actually an original design, a chestnut prospector design that Peter's been able to get his hands on. So we hear from, I think it was from Bill Mason, that used to say that the chestnut prospector was his favorite canoe, or certainly one of the best out there. So it's obviously a very popular mold. Now, Peter doesn't just do canoes, viewers. I'm going to pan the camera around here and take a look at a complete rebuild, by the look of it, that Peter's been working on.
Yeah, this is a Century Resorter. This was 1958 to 1962 boat that was produced probably in Wisconsin or Ohio.
Right.
They were batten seam, very light, very powerful motor, very leaky, but it was primarily a fun ski boat. Lots of power for skiing. So what I've done with this boat, I've taken every single bottom frame out, as well as all the bottom, and I've replaced each frame with double laminated marine ply, epoxied together, and bolted into new Douglas fir engine stringers.
So that should be even stronger than the original build, I presume.
It will be very strong.
And in terms of weight, how would the plywood frames compare with the original frames on the boat, weight-wise?
I think they're about half the weight.
Really? Okay, so you save in that way as well.
Yeah, the boat will be quite a bit lighter, and will be very stiff. So basically everything from the waterline up will be as per original construction. Everything for the waterline down will be marine ply, stainless fasteners, epoxy fiberglass cloth on the outside. So it should be very stiff and very dry.
Okay, and basically that's a cold molded, you were saying earlier, that's basically a cold molded construction technique for the bottom.
Probably the where the boat is quite flat towards the aft, I'll be able to use full 1/2 inch ply. Up forward, I'll likely have to mold with multiple layers of thinner plywood.
Okay.
And epoxy them together.
Okay.
To come around the corner up into the stem.
Right.
You can see the keel is just about ready to go in for fitting. The shaft hole has been drilled, and the rabbet, probably get to cutting the rabbet tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm pretty close to flipping the boat upside down to install the bottom.
Wow. What length of time would you anticipate spending on the boat altogether, Peter?
It'll be in the hundreds of hours.
Right. It's a major project for sure.
A major project, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every single one of those frames in the bottom came out in pieces. And originally they were, piece built, so they were sometimes 2 or 3 or 5 pieces put together with screws and bolts. So, I mean, from day one they wiggled.
Right.
So they weren't, there was no glue bonding them together. They were just put together raw. So
Sure.
I'm sure even at the beginning the boat was a little soft.
Right. So the customer, when it's finished, should get a very durable, many sort of carefree years boating out of it, I would presume.
Yeah, and the top sides, all the hardware is in storage, and the covering boards, and at some point I think probably the floorboards inside could be reinstalled, but I'm sure the upholstery needs to be.
Right.
I haven't seen the upholstery yet, but I'm pretty sure
Right. And you mentioned that the engine was out for a complete rebuild
the
as well.
engine's at a shop for
Yeah.
a complete rebuild.
Wow, it's going to be an exciting relaunch when it happens.
Yeah. Hi, so this is the one of the canoes I've finished recently. This is off an original 15-foot chestnut Ranger mold. So this is the Ranger model. So this is white cedar planking, white cedar ribs, white ash gunnels. A bit different than most construction methods. I've actually glassed and epoxied the outside of this boat. It's a little bit lighter than the canvas covered ones, and very stiff. So you can also see on the bottom lots of paddlers don't want a keel, so I made this one without the keel for
Right.
people that are doing river work. But
Sure. And could you add a keel at this point? If
yeah,
you could.
I could put a keel on. But the 6-ounce fiberglass cloth epoxy and paint makes a very, very stiff hull, and the gunnels are actually epoxied on, so the water can't get in behind them.
Wow.
I can actually make them smaller that way, and you can barely even move them. So on the water, this is a very taut, stiff hull.
Right.
And
I think weight-wise, you said 54 pounds, was it,
yeah,
Peter?
this one's 54 pounds.
Okay.
So a canvas covered in the same model probably could be 58, 57, 58.
So there's not that much
59.
difference, actually.
Yeah.
Just a few pounds. Wow.
Now, one thing about this model is it won't pick up water as much as a canvas canoe on a trip. So sometimes when you take a canvas canoe for a 2 or 3 week canoe trip, you may add
pick up
6
some weight.
pounds, whereas
Yeah.
you're not probably going to add
Yeah.
nearly as much.
Would you finish a canvas canoe with a 2-part epoxy the way you finished this one? Or would you use a different kind of
I
paint?
think lots of other canoe builders are experimenting with canvas and epoxy, and some quite successfully. I haven't tried it yet.
Right.
So
So you'd use an oil-based paint of some sort, I guess, then?
yeah, there's a canvas filler that you put on the canvas first, and you let that dry. Then you usually use a primer, or go straight to a regular yacht enamel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, viewers. Peter Code at Tendercraft here in Port Credit, Ontario, close to Lake Ontario, and he's just finished this absolutely gorgeous canoe. Good to talk to you, Peter. Thanks for sharing your time.
Thank you.
That's it, folks. Over and out. Viewers, apologies. I've forgotten to mention Peter's Tendercraft shop here, which he purchased from Tendercraft some time ago. He's got quite an amazing assortment of materials here, including hard-to-get hardware of all sorts. This, for example, is from a lake field. I don't know if you can see that. Looks like the Indian chief from the original Lakecraft boat company. He has windshield brackets and ropes and all sorts of screws and you name it. It looks like Peter would even sell you a seat for your canoe if you needed it. And paddles on the other side here, and Epiphanes paints, Sandusky paint. So, a good collection of materials. So any of you do-it-yourselfers, certainly worth giving Peter a shout. I see West System Epoxy over here as well. Anything else you'd like to add, Peter, about the shop?
Yeah, sure. Tendercraft was opened in the late 70s in Toronto, and operated at a couple of different locations, Mowat Avenue for a while, 311 Markham Street in downtown Toronto. And just this June 2016, I purchased Tendercraft and brought it here and set it up in the front half of my shop, so I have a little store.
Right.
So what Tendercraft specializes doing is supplying really those hard to find items, chrome screws, brass screws, copper rivets, a whole line of chrome hardware. You know, for example, these windshield brackets.
Yes,
here.
they are hard to get a hold of, I believe, aren't they, these brackets?
And you know, I have the windshield gasket as well. So a number of items that I bring in from distributors in Europe, and I bring them in a number at a time and supply them. The easiest way to get in touch with me is Tendercraft's website, so it's www.tendercraftboats.com, and there's an online catalog, and you can phone our 1-800 number or get in touch by email, and I can put you in touch with all this hardware, fastenings, paint, as well as I do sometimes I'm able to make custom pieces for parts on boats if somebody's doing them at home.
Good to know that. And the other good news, viewers, is Peter doesn't import from China, so quality is not an issue.
Yeah, most of the parts I get come from the UK, Italy, places that have been making boat parts for classic boats and yachts for hundreds of years.
Right, so the quality is there.
Yeah.
Okay, there you have it once again, viewers. Tendercraft Boats. Thanks for your time, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
Bye for now.